Separatist Research Facility, Kulara.
Gez Hokin never took kindly to being summoned, but Ovalat Quail Uthan had the gift of being charming about it. She invited him to meet her in the research complex. She even sent one of her staff with a speeder to collect him from his offices. Hokin appreciated the gesture. The woman understood how to use power and influence. The Neomoidian grocer had yet to learn. Uthan was not particularly pretty, but she did have the knack of dressing well in plain dark robes and carrying herself like an empress. That balanced the scales. What Hokin liked most about her was that while she seemed to know that feminine charm wouldn't override his common sense, she never dropped her seductively reasonable facade. She was a professional, and mutual respect went a long way with him. The fact that she was a scientist with subtle political skills impressed him further still. He could almost forgive the unnatural act of fighting without real weapons. The decaying exterior of farm buildings gave way to reinforced alloy doors and lengthy corridors with what appeared to be emergency bulkheads. Hokin carried his helmet under one arm, unwilling to leave it or his weapons with the servant. The wizened man looked local. The locals were all thieves. "Expecting some grain silo fires, then?" he said, and prodded the recessed blast bulkheads with his forefinger. Uthan laughed, a low, tinkling laugh that he knew could just as easily switch to a commanding voice and freeze a parade ground of troops.
"I'm grateful you could make the time to see me, General Hokin," she said. "Under normal circumstances, I would never bypass someone with whom I had a contract and speak directly to his subcontractor. It's very rude, don't you think? But I'm a little concerned."
Ankit wasn't part of this conversation. Hokin began to understand, and she was laying on the flattery with a trowel. "I'm merely Hokin, a citizen. Let me address your concerns, madam." He felt suddenly foolish. He had no idea what to call her. "Mistress Uthan?"
"Doctor will be fine, thank you."
"How can I reassure you, then, Doctor?" She steered him into a side room and indicated 3 shimmering beige brocade-upholstered chairs, clearly imported from Coruscant. He hesitated to sit on such a conspicuously decadent seat, but he did because he would not stand before her like a servant. Uthan took the chair nearest him.
"You have some idea of the importance of the work I carry out here, I think."
"Not in any detail. Viruses. From the building specification, anyway." He'd policed the construction crews, who were also all thieves. "Hazardous materials." If Uthan was surprised, she gave no indication whatsoever.
"Exactly," she said. "And I confess I'm somewhat disturbed by the events of recent days. Lik Onkit assures me my security is guaranteed, but I would really welcome your assessment of the situation."
Her tone hardened just a fraction. Still syrup, but now with gritty, sharp crystals in it.
"Is this project under any threat? And can you maintain its security?"
Hokin didn't hesitate. "Yes, I believe your facility is vulnerable." He was a master of his trade. He saw no reason to lose his reputation over a restriction not of his making. "And no, I can't guarantee anything with the level and quality of staff that I have." Uthan sat back with controlled slowness.
"Last matter first. Do you not have the resources to employ them? Ankit's contract is quite generous."
"That generosity has not filtered down to my operation."
Perhaps we should shorten the supply chain, in the interests of efficiency."
"I have no opinion on that. Ankit's welcome to his cut, as long as I have the tools to do the job."
That wasn't quite the cut I had in mind for Lick Onkit.
She smiled. There was no warmth in it.
And you believe the recent incursions are related to this facility?
Circumstantial evidence, yes. Hogan returned the smile and suspected his was a few degrees cooler. If she'd do this to Ankit, she'd do it to him. It's a big planet. Why the Umbrani region? Why send Jedi agents?
Have you located any forces?
No. I've identified at least 2 points of hard contact and 1 downed vessel, though.
Hard contact?
Situations where soldiers actually engage each other. Not that his rabble of mercenaries rated the distinction of soldiers. I can't gauge numbers.
If I were to arrange for you to have command of separatist droids and the officers from a nearby garrison, would that make your task easier?
I take no sides. I won't lie to you and pretend to support your cause.
You have military experience, of course. There's no disgrace in being a mercenary.
I'm Mandalorian. It's in my soul as well as part of my education. No, there's no shame in it, as long as you give of your best. Uthan suddenly melted into what seemed a thoroughly genuine and sympathetic half-smile.
I think I should share something with you. It might be distressing.
There were still hard edges in her unctuous tone.
The Republic has created an army of cloned troops. Millions. They have been bred to fight and serve Jedi generals without question, altered to be their willing servants. They have had no normal life, and they age very rapidly if they survive being wasted in foolish battles. Do you know whose genetic material was used to create these unfortunate slaves?
No, I don't. Hogan was never embarrassed to admit ignorance. That was for small men. Tell me.
Jango Fett.
What?
Yes. The finest Mandalorian warrior of his day has been used to churn out cannon fodder for the aggrandizement of the Jedi.
If she had spat in his face, he couldn't have been more appalled. He knew she was aware of what would enrage him. She used the emotional term warrior, not bounty hunter. She knew how much the revelation would offend his cultural pride. But she was right to tell him. It was a matter of honor and more than his own. He would not see his heritage used in this travesty of honest war. I'd take the contract even if you didn't pay me, he said. Uthan seemed relaxed.
We can give you up to 100 droids to start this. Ask if you need more. It's a small garrison because we didn't want to attract attention, but now that we have that attention, we can reinforce if necessary. What about your existing militia?
I think layoff notices might be in order. Perhaps your troops might start by helping me with the administration of that. Uthan blinked for a second, and Hokan realized she had taken longer than usual to understand what he meant. She grasped the meaning. I can be as ruthless as you, he thought. She'd think twice before undermining him, as she was undermining Ankit.
That might be a sensible start,
she said. Hokan stood up and held his helmet in both hands. He had always been proud of that tradition, proud that it hadn't changed in thousands of years, except for a technical enhancement here and there. What really mattered was what lay under Mandalorian armor, a warrior's heart.
Would you like to know what virus we're developing here, Major Hokan?
Uthan asked. So he had a real rank now, not the flatteringly extravagant general. Do I need to?
I think so. You see, it's specifically for the clones.
Let me see. To make them proper men again.
Nothing can do that. This is to kill them.
Hokan replaced his helmet carefully. The kindest solution. he said, and meant it.